Hi, artists, and welcome to the studio. It's good to see you here. So this is actually take two of our drawing video. The first one, I'm gonna get over to my right screen here. My first one, I went to go check it out and put timestamps on it after I got back from vacation and realized that 20 minutes of it was missing. So, it was a good 20 minutes too. Like I talked about a lot of really great things. So I'm gonna redo it here and then that way you have all the information and not just the first part of it. So let me introduce myself. My name is Allison Jensen. I am the owner of Orange Easel School of Art. Welcome to my Liberty studio. We just finished a summer camp today, so it was kind of a whirlwind and now it's really quiet and I'm the only one in here. So it's good to chat with you guys. Orange Easel is a children's art studio located in the Kansas City metro. We have two different locations, one here in Liberty, where I'm at, and then one just across 152 Highway in the Platte Woods area that we call Platte Woods, even though it's a Kansas City address, but we're so close to Platte Woods, it just makes sense. So we have two locations and we teach kids art. That's it. We don't do adult classes. We don't do like wine and paint nights. We teach kids arts. Just like you would send your child to a dance class or to a taekwondo lesson or to gymnastics class or to basketball practice, our kids come here for art class. And for the most part, through the school year, the only way to get an Orange Easel experience is through these weekly classes. Now, during the summertime, we do summer camps. We also do birthday parties all year long, but for the most part, the way that you participate in Orange Easel is through a weekly class. We are getting ready to launch our fall enrollment for the 2025-26 school year. And I want to talk to you about drawing classes, which is one of the three types of classes that we offer for our K through 12th grade artists. Right? So we're going to talk about drawing only. If you're interested in multimedia classes or creative explorations or preschool classes or toddler art and play, you can find all that information on the website. But we have a bunch of different drawing classes. We have 3 different levels. We have 2 different tracks. And I want to talk through mostly the levels today. We're not going to dig in too much into the tracks. The 2 tracks are illustrative or realistic. We're not going to dig into those. If you are interested in that, I have a blog post and I've got some videos on my Instagram stories that you can hear me talk about that. Okay. But today we're going to talk about the different levels. So really quick, for drawing levels, we have 101, 102, 103. 101 is K through 2nd grade. 102 is 3rd through 6th grade, and 103 is 7th through 12th grade. We're going to talk about the differences between them really quick. Number 1, 101 is only 60 minutes long. That first introductory class for those kindergartners through the 2nd graders, 60 minutes. 2 and 3 is going to go up. We're going to have 90 minutes together. And that is because time flies when you're drawing. So it doesn't, you blink and 90 minutes is gone. Seriously. I don't know if all artists have that problem, but I know I have that problem. All of the drawing classes meet 4 times a month. Drawing 101 has 4 lessons in a month. So we're always going to have 4 lessons. Drawing 102 and drawing, we'll get to 103. Drawing 102 has 3 lessons in a month. And then the 4th class is what we call a wild card. And that is where we're going to like fine tune some lessons, or maybe we're going to get help on a lesson that we weren't sure about from earlier in the month. Maybe we want to finish a drawing from a lesson earlier in the month. Maybe we want to start over on a lesson that we had earlier in the month. So that wildcard lesson is kind of like a choose your own adventure that our 3rd through 6th grade artists get to pick what they want to do during class for that wildcard week. Okay? But there's always 3 independent lessons. All of the classes are going to include a sketchbook or a journal. And in 101 and in 102, we complete all of our lessons in this sketchbook. This is the sketchbook that we give. So you see it's blank on the front because who doesn't love to decorate a sketchbook cover? It has 75 pages in it. And I'm going to show you one. I've got one from a previous student. I'm going to show a little bit in there. This is where all the lessons go. So in our 101 class and in our 102 class, this is where they're going to do their work. Okay? They don't finish anything like, hey, Mom, look what I made in art class today, and they take it home that day. That's not what happens. They will do their work in here. At the end of class, if they want, totally optional, they can take this book out to the lobby and they can show, this is what I learned, this is what I did, and then it gets closed up and there's a drop zone in both of our lobbies at both locations where they put it in and then it stays in the class cubbies. It's not a secret. We don't keep it here because it's secretive. We keep it here so you don't have to remember to bring it back. So all work is done in here, and then when they leave, end of the year, or say they have to go play a winter sport, they can take it home. Okay, but it is included in your tuition. For our 103 classes, it is not a lesson-based class. 103, once they get to that 7th through 12th grade, they are completing projects. And so we give them a littler journal. This is actually the same journal that is used for our multimedia kids. So it has 50 pages in it, and then it's smaller, 5.5 by 8.5. They use this for brainstorming, for doodling, for free drawing, for working on thumbnail sketches of what their final project for each month is going to be. And they are the level of class where there is very, very few lessons. They're going to come in and we're going to give them like a challenge or a prompt. They're going to brainstorm what they're going to be making for the next month, because they've got 4 90-minute classes to do that. And then it's head down and work time. Okay. So this is just for their kind of brainstorming. Okay. So let's dig into each one. I brought some curriculum and everything to show you. Drawing 101. So in Drawing 101 class, our goal is to provide unique drawing challenges to foster a love of drawing and to encourage young artists. We're going to meet them wherever they are. You need zero skill set for this class. Like wherever you're at and everything you do is going to be amazing and awesome, period. Okay. So Drawing 101 is going to use all sorts of different media. We're going to use pencil, we're going to use charcoal, we're going to use colored pencils, we're going to use chalk pastels, we're going to use alcohol ink markers, we're going to use regular markers, we're going to use sumi inks. We even sometimes get out like the printmaking tools, and we do things in metals. And so anything that just encourages line work, drawing, mark making, value study, that kind of stuff, we're going to throw it at them, because we really want to foster this love of rendering something on a page. Okay, so varieties of spice of life in our Drawing 101. The outline for a 101 class, we're going to have a warm-up activity, because we got to talk about like what our week's been up to and how things are going and connect with our class. We're going to have a lesson where the instructor is talking or demonstrating. And then we're going to have a lesson where the kids are working. So then that is the head down period of time where we're working on a single drawing. They're going to open up their sketchbook to a blank page, and they're going to work on whatever that lesson was. After that is done, that's about 25 minutes. After that is done, we'll put a lesson label on it, and then they usually have some time to either share, critique, or free draw. Okay. In the 101 class, so this is again K through 2nd grades, we're going to use the same vocabulary we're using with our 103 classes. We're going to talk about shape and form and perspective and value and viewpoint. We don't necessarily define those tools or require that they know what they mean, but we're going to give it to them as placeholders, and we're going to talk to them about it. We're going to celebrate everything that they make. So this is an example of 101 curriculum. I get to write all the curriculum here. It's one of my favorite parts of my job. This is 101 from May. And so just a little bit about it, gives you a monthly overview. They did bug collections. This was kind of an outdoor theme month. In week 1, they did roads and buildings in week 2. We looked at feathers in week 3, and then we did pop-up landscapes in week 4. So all of these actually end up being observational drawings, but sometimes we do actually work from our imagination. In week 1's lesson, so you'll see there's a warm-up activity, there's a lesson, and then there's like, we call it work time down here. Okay, so the warm-up for our bug collections was working really, really big. So because we knew we were going to work really, really small, when we got to the actual lesson time, the warm-up, we want to get that gross motor in. So we did big flowers, and we gave them big pieces of newsprint, and we gave them like lumps of compressed charcoal, and we drew big flowers, trying to get that whole shoulder, that whole core engaged, and working big. Okay. And then we looked really, really small. We got out magnifying glasses, and we got out photos of bugs. And then we also have like little plastic bugs. And we talked about the parts of a bug, and then we worked on drawing and illustrating those bugs. The supplies that we used for the bugs was sumi ink, which is a liquid permanent ink. We used glass pens. Sometimes we use like a straw nib. And then to add color, we used chalk pastels. So once the ink dried, we could use chalk pastels, and they did little bug collections in their books. So we're using a lot of different drawing muscles for this lesson. The lesson time for the instructor, right? This is where we're talking about the parts of a bug and the marks that we use, and the fact that the sumi ink doesn't provide value. It only has like one value, and that is black. Right? It doesn't give us a grayscale. It has one value and one hue, and it is black. we talk about that, and we talk about like line weight and like having like marks that like mimic texture. Talk about actual techniques and skills that we use to make skinny lines versus fat lines. And then each lesson is going to have a goal and objective. So the lesson's objective for this one was to practice drawing from observation, which is oftentimes one of our goals. Learning how to use ink for illustration, and then practicing scissor skills and fine motor skills, because a lot of them like to cut their bugs out and collage them into their journals. So that was week 1. In week 2, we're looking at roads and buildings. And so this is an introduction to perspective. We're not necessarily teaching a 1-point perspective lesson here. That's a linear perspective. But we are going to learn how to use a ruler, which is really great skill to practice. How to like use a straight edge and a ruler in order to make a super straight line. We went outside for this lesson and we looked at the buildings around us and we drew them with a ruler. We talked about how the lines have funny angles to them, and we use words like horizon and the vanishing point and orthogonal lines. We're not necessarily teaching the skills for this yet, because we'll do it in 102, but we do want to give them placeholders for that. So that was our week 2 lesson. Our week 3 lesson was another observational lesson using feathers. So we got to get out the magnifying glasses again and draw feathers. This time we're using oil pastels. So again, a different drawing media. So we're switching every single week. And then in the last one, this was a really fun one. This is our last one of the year. For the warm-up, we drew on metal, which I don't know if I have my metal. Here's an example of metal. Here's an example of a drawing that's done on a metal tooling foil. Just happens to be hanging out here on my desk. So we drew on metal to just kind of warm up and get our brains working. And then we talked about a different type of perspective, which is atmospheric perspective. The idea that things that are further away look smaller. Things that are further away look hazy. Things that are further away are less saturated. Things that are further away are lighter in color. So all of those like just kind of rules for an atmospheric perspective lesson. And then we made a pop-up landscape. So we talked about foreground, midground, and background. They looked at photographs of actual landscapes to identify those parts. But then when it came time to making their landscape, they worked from their imagination. And we drew the foreground, the midground, and the background on 3 separate small sheets of paper, cut them out, and then we could lay them flat and pop them up. That was really cool. So that is an example of a 101 curriculum for the month. Again, all of those lessons happen in a book like this, and then they can go out to the lobby and they can show you what they did, but it stays here in the studio. For our Drawing 102 classes, this is the first time that they can divide up and go into different tracks. So in Drawing 102, they can decide if they'd like to kind of pursue a more illustrative style of drawing, where we are interpreting things and then giving a voice and an atmosphere and like to our marks and to what we create. Realistic drawing is just like it sounds. It's like, do you see this? Draw this. That's it. It's a very technical skill. So 2 different tracks, both are great. I talk about it more in our blog post, so we won't go into it, but the 102 is a lesson-driven 90-minute class. This is the nitty-gritty. This is where all the learning happens. So 3rd through 6th grade, this 102 class is same format as the 101. There's always going to be a warm-up. There's always going to be times where the instructor's talking and demonstrating. There's going to be times for the kids to work in their journals. And then there's going to be time for like free draw, critique, questions, that kind of stuff. Okay. Like I said, with the 102s, we work for 3 lessons and then we have a wild card. We don't have wild cards in November and December because of the holidays. We still have a class, but it's not a wild card. If you sign up, it's fun. But it's not a lesson. So, but there are still 3 lessons every single month, and then a wild card week on the other ones. Let's see. So I'm making sure these are my notes. I don't forget anything. The expectation in 102 is that you are going to work on a single drawing in your book for 45 to 60 minutes. It's a lot of head down work time. And during that time, the instructor is going around and they're going to be talking to you about like how you're doing and your lesson. And we might identify, 5 of our students who are having kind of the same pitfall. And then that tells us that, hey, let's call everyone together and let's demonstrate again, and let's show something different. Let's get a new resource. Let's explain it differently so that everybody can be successful with their drawing. Okay, so it's a lot of one-on-one feedback. Our drawing classes are very small. We will start our year with only 8 kids in a drawing class. We may go up to 10, but most times they stay at 8 because that's a really comfortable class for everybody. It gives like one instructor and 8 kids, lots and lots of one-on-one time. So in our curriculum, this is an example. It is designed to be repeated. It is designed to be repeated. Because you can't just do this lesson once. I promise. You can't do it once and be like, I got it. I never need to practice that again. That's not the way this works. You get to do this a lot. And I know some parents are like, oh, they don't want to do the same thing. But that's the way it works. That's how you get better, right? I mean, my kids are basketball players, which I am so not. But my kids are basketball players. They don't go to practice and be like, we did dribbling and layups last practice. That's not how it works. You still get to do it because that's how we're gonna get better at it. So I want people to think of the art lessons that way. Like the goal was not so that you had a great picture of a pumpkin still life. Like that wasn't the goal. The goal was to practice your realistic drawing skills. So all right, so this is an example of realistic drawing in our monthly overview. We've got weekly lessons. You can see their first week was a charcoal reductive drawing. So we layer charcoal all over the paper and then use an eraser to dig it out. So we do that from photographs of different bats. There's lots of different bats to choose from. So if you did this lesson last year, you just pick a different bat. It's okay. We did pumpkin still life. That's where I get to go shopping at the grocery stores and buy all the pumpkins and the gourds. And we set up a still life. Still life means the object is right in front of you. And we drew that with chalk pastels. And then we drew haunted houses. We did that from our imagination. This is a perspective lesson. So that linear perspective we talked about in 101, now it's time to really apply those things. So we're drawing a haunted house from our imagination, but using the rules of linear perspective. So vertical lines, horizontal lines, all the ruler skills that you learned in 101 and you practiced, orthogonal lines, vanishing point, horizon, all the things. We'll learn 1-point and 2-point perspective. A lot of our newbies in 102 realistic and 102 illustrative will start with 101, but we require that you know 102 or 102. I'm sorry. We start with 1 point. That's what I meant. But we require that you do 2-point, like with confidence by the time you move to 103. Okay. So that is this curriculum, and you can see one of the differences between it is in this one, we've got some vocabulary. You can see like right here, right? We're checking out our vocabulary. My kids actually have a glossary in the back of their book. We write vocabulary every week so that we learn these terms and we can use these terms. We've got goals. So like here, the goal on today's goals this is for the pumpkin still life, is to draw the contour of each piece to represent accurate scale in the objects, and then to use pastels to add color and variation of hue. Those are the goals. So I want to show you a 102 sketchbook, and then we're going to talk a little bit about 103. So this is 102 from one of our students who left it here. So we can see we started the month with a observational drawing using, these are 3-dimensional cubes and cylinders and cones and things. Once we get, this is the contour. You can see we've got the lines, the outlines done. The goal then is eventually that you add your value. So this is a value scale worksheet. This is something we would do for like a warm-up. This is another warm-up. It was a chalk pastel skills worksheet that they did. And I love this. Look, so we did an observational from photograph chalk pastel drawing. Okay. This was her first one. And then during wildcard week, she did it again, right? Because we keep working on it and keep getting better at it. I'd like to point out they have, oh, here's another one. But let me show you this part first. So the lesson labels that are on the back. So this says landscapes from photograph September week 2. It's just on the back of the lesson. And it has the description of the lesson, and it has the supplies that we used, and then there we go. And then it has the goals and objectives. So that just gets taped on there. This was another example. We were doing colored pencils kind of for a warm up, and we were trying to make sure that these like really great skin tones could be matched. So that's what we're doing there, is color mixing skin tones. We have a really great self-portraits that we started. Oops, this one's falling out, that little lesson label. That one was a still life, right? And then there's our lesson label for that. What else do we have? Do we have the fat reduction? I know it's got to be in here somewhere. Some people, ooh, look, there's more metal. That's fun. Ooh, this was fun. That was a fruit still life. Oh, I found it. Here's our reductive and additive drawing with charcoal. How fun is that? You see, she didn't finish. Even with 90 minutes, she didn't finish. That's okay. The goal wasn't that you had a beautiful drawing to take home. Sketchbooks should have a lot of ugly pages in them. If you're doing it right, it should not be a showcase piece. This is a learning space right here. So I'm not looking for finished artwork in their sketchbooks. I'm looking for learning that happens here. Okay. So that's what a 102 sketchbook looks like, just to kind of give you an idea. Those are just like maybe 2 months or 3 months, because it had November in there. So that's 3 months worth. All right, I'm almost out of time because we've got Creation Nation classes happening here at 4:30, so I've got to be off here pretty soon. Okay, so that's 102. Once we get to 103, no lessons, really. I mean, really not. There's like a small part of our curriculum that I write in that what I call mini lessons, but for a lot of these 7th through 12th graders who are in 103 classes, they already know it. Like, they don't need, hang on, let me get an example. I mean, I will give it to them if they want it, but they've done this worksheet. Most of them have done it so many times, they don't need to do it again. But what they need is to be like, hey guys, remember the value scale? Yeah, you remember how to do it? And then let me show you it. And then, yeah, you good? Okay, we're gonna use it like in this project. And they're like, yes, Allison, I've got it. So we do a review, we do a mini lesson, we do like a refresher, but it is not a very long lesson, 5-10 minutes maybe, and then they dive into their work. So they're producing finished art every month. A lot of times we mat it in a pre-cut mat. We are exploring other ways of finishing, just to kind of be creative with that, so you guys don't have a bunch of 11 by 14 inch matted artwork just laying around. I know we worked big a couple times last year, and the kids loved it. So we worked on like poster sizes. So we're gonna do more of that this year. But 103 is all about just showing off what you can do, right? So we try to give you challenges that are unique and kind of work your brain a little bit, but ultimately what the kids design and what they decide to make is totally up to them. We're just giving them kind of the framework for it. So nobody's creating the same piece of art. It's all theirs, okay? It's about 85 minutes of work time. And they still sometimes have to come in for makeups. Okay. All right. I'm going to talk really quick about how you find the right art class. So like, if you know you're going drawing, right? And you're like, how do I know, Allison? How do I know the right one is? First things first, start with the age or grade, right? So you're looking at what grade is my kid in and see where they fit in the 102, 101, 102, 103 level. Okay. When in doubt, go down. We don't, whoops, see, there's my timer that says, don't forget to start Creation Nation. Like, when in doubt, go down. We're not going to move you up. So if you are like so super talented as a first grader and you're like, my kid should be in 102, bless you. Let's talk private lessons, but we're not going to move them up to 102 until they're in 3rd grade. Okay. But you might have a 3rd grader, let's say, who just is a like the type that has a book, right? And they're gonna draw what they want to draw, and then they're gonna turn the page and they're gonna draw again, and they're gonna turn the page and they're gonna draw again. They're not gonna work on one drawing for 45 to 60 minutes. Then 102 is not where they're at yet. And that's okay. Put them in 101, where we're just delighting in the joy of drawing. And that is a-okay. And they will have a great time. And we will meet them right where they are. And eventually they'll be ready, and that's fine. Okay. You might also have a 7th grader who's never taken a formal drawing class, and getting a year of 102 under their belt is going to set them up for success instead of starting at 103, where we're not really teaching a whole lot. We're going to give a lot of feedback, but we expect that you already know a good chunk of technical drawing skills. Okay. If your kiddo has already done 102, and this is probably the most common, they've already done 102, and they have a mental barrier of like, I've already done it. Okay. And they can't get past it, then go do something else. Either do the other track, so you did 102 illustrative, move to 102 realistic, or go to a multimedia class, go to a creative explorations class, go do something else and get a little distance, because we never want anyone to have negative feelings in class. So if they can't get past like, no, the goal of 102 is to continue to do it, to get to mastery with it, to repeat things. If that's not their vibe, that's okay. Take a break. Come back next, like do something else for this school year and then come back in a year and it'll be fresh and new. I do like people to know that we refresh our curriculum frequently in terms of like weeding out lessons or making lessons stronger. But ultimately it stays the same, like, because we like the flow of it and we see value in it. There's a reason we write it this way. But very rarely are you drawing the same thing. So my artist here who did that chalk pastel landscape, I mean, she probably had 20 different landscape pictures that she could have picked from, right? So it shouldn't be the same picture or the same drawing. It's just the same skill. It's just practicing the same skill. So definitely do that. If you're new, if you're confused, if you're just wondering, like, I don't know what level to put him at, feel free to reach out and contact us. And then do know that we can shuffle and we can move, right? So if a kid gets into 102 and you're like, whoa, 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 this is over their head, we need to back them down to 101, we'll figure it out. Okay. We never want a child to be in a spot in a class where they cannot be successful. That is not their best fit. So reach out to us. We do a lot in the first like month, 6 weeks of the school year of me talking to my teachers and saying, who's having trouble? Like who needs to go up, down, over, sideways, whatever. And then reaching out to parents and saying, what feedback are you getting? So we want your kid to be in the class that is best for them. Okay. And we will work to get you there. All right. Best way to reach us is with an email. You can email me at artclasses@orangeeaselart.com. You can send me a Facebook message. You guys, I love Facebook and Instagram messages. So go to your favorite social media and DM me there. It comes right through to my phone. And then that way I can get you an answer super fast. If you want to set up a phone call, the best way to do it, send me one of those messages and we'll set it up. A lot of times our phones here are on silent just because we got a lot going on. But we do return voicemail. So if you call and leave me a voicemail, I will get back to you. I think that's it. So registration opens Friday, August 1st at 9 a.m. And I can't wait to see everybody this fall.